Hey, you, let's talk about roadblocks. A roadblock is something that stands in the way of you and your goal. And when we're talking about organizing and decluttering our homes and showing our homes some love, which in turn shows ourselves some love, there can be some things that stand in the way. And one of the biggest ones that I've seen time and time again is something called overwhelm. And there are many reasons you get overwhelmed with the clutter in your home. And today we're going to talk about one of those reasons, perfectionism. So let's talk about why and how perfectionism is killing your progress. Crystal here with Cloud9 Organizing. So let's jump into this whole perfectionism thing. So, first of all, let's identify what perfectionism is. Perfectionism is something that is unattainable. It's where you are constantly striving to do the best and be the best. However, it's never good enough. And there's a lot of self doubt, self criticism that goes on. So, perfectionism is something that is unattainable, whereas having high standards is not necessarily perfectionism and can be a really good thing, a very motivating thing. So, having high standards for yourself in your home and expecting the people that live in your home to pick up after themselves and take care and respect their home and their belongings is not necessarily the same thing as perfectionism. So, I just want to clarify that before we jump in. So, my experience with perfectionism is personal and also professional. So, I have suffered from the mind trap of perfectionism myself, thinking that I was not good enough to put myself out there, or maybe not even answering the door because my house wasn't clean enough, or not wearing shorts because my legs didn't look good enough. So, silly little things like that. And now I do know that they are silly. And I know that I am good enough. So, I also work with really high achieving people, people who have really high expectations of themselves, high expectations for their homes and their families and their careers, which again can be a great thing if your standards are high, but you know that eventually you're going to reach your goals. Some of these people, though, have such high expectations that they never obtain their goals because their goal is to be perfect. So, that goal of perfectionism is constantly slipping away from you if you're trying to reach perfection because it's just never there. It's never attainable. Once you get to a certain spot, it keeps slipping away from you. So I work with a lot of high overachievers and a lot of perfectionists because they end up with a lot of clutter. And the reason they end up with a lot of clutter and chaos is because when they've got goals and projects that they want to work on, they either one, don't even start or don't attempt because they figure, why bother? I'm not going to get it done the way I need to get it done anyway, so I'm not even going to dive into it. Or two, they're working towards their goals and then they're criticizing themselves because they're not reaching those goals because they're not as perfect as it should be. So they're constantly buying more stuff or adding new projects on top of the current project to make it more perfect, and chaos happens. So that's where I come in. So, I want to give you 4 things that you can start implementing into your life now, 4 action steps that we can talk about to where you can bust through that mind trap of perfectionism, that unrealistic expectation of perfectionism. So, first of all, I've heard this for years, and it is something that really has helped me, is to remember that it is all about progress, not perfection. And I have recently read Marie Forleo's new book. It's Everything is Figure Outable. Great book, by the way. I do highly recommend it. And she recommends using that progress, not perfection, as a mantra for yourself and just saying it to yourself over and over again. Progress, not perfection. Progress, not perfection. And know that when you are making progress, you're getting that much closer to your goal. So I even maybe recommend write it in on your bathroom mirror to remind yourself if you need to, or putting it in as a daily reminder on your phone that pops up as a notification. Do it every hour if you have to. If you've got to remind yourself that it's all about progress, not perfection. Okay, number two, the second thing that I would like to have you do as an action step is to also remember that the process is so much more important than the end result. So, process over product. So, I was a teacher many years ago, and I used to really buy into this and use this when I would teach my students and remind them of this concept also. So I wanted them to know that the most important thing that was going on was what they were doing, not the end result. So working through the problem and figuring out what was going to happen, or let's take math for example. There are many different ways to come to the same end result in math. There are so many different forms of problem solving, and that's what's important. Are you enjoying what you're doing as you're doing it? Are you learning something even if it's really hard and you're not enjoying it? Because when you're in the challenge and in the mix of it, that's when you become better. And maybe you're teaching somebody else how you're doing it. And again, that reinforces your learning. So it's all about the process, not the end result, not the grade, not the product. Did you learn something? Let's take artists for example. They are really good about being in the process of it because that's where they get their high, is when they are making their art and creating, not necessarily the end result. The end result is the icing on the cake, a beautiful piece of work of art, but really the joy comes in creating that art. Marathon runners is another really good example. When you are running a marathon, you get to a certain point where it's challenging. That's when you know you're becoming better. It's challenging, it's hard, and then you hit that runner's high. Ooh, that is like the joy in the process right there. It's not necessarily running through the finish line and worrying about getting to the end. The joy is not crossing the finish line. The joy is in the process of getting to the finish line. So just keep that in mind whenever you're working through a product or a process of decluttering and organizing. Try your very best just to be in the moment now and enjoy the process of it. And really know that you are making progress. And when you make progress through the process, that's what counts. That's where the joy is. Don't worry about the end result. Don't worry about being perfect. Okay, and then another thing that I would like you to do, so number 3, is to lean into the good and to find the good in everything. If you are a perfectionist and you're really good about nitpicking and finding the things that are not right and are not perfect and not good, and you're going to find a lot of that because nothing's perfect, right? So look at what's good. What did you do, or what in this situation is good? And there is always something good. Even if it seems a little crappy at the time, you're going to be able to find something at the end of the day, at least one thing that was good. Let's give you an example. Okay, laundry. That is always a really big pain point for a lot of people that I work with, is laundry, too many clothes, too much going on. So instead of being so concerned about all the negative stuff associated with laundry, fold a shirt, one shirt to the best of your ability, and then look at that shirt and go, ooh, Marie Kondo would be so impressed with me right now. I did such a good job on folding this shirt. High five me. Just praise yourself when you do something good. Maybe you go to the grocery store and you remember to bring your grocery shopping list. Yay! Look at me going to the grocery store and I remember to bring my shopping list this time. Find the good in everything and stop worrying about the things that did not go wrong. Or that went wrong, excuse me. So stop worrying about the mistakes. Okay, so that is number 3. Let's talk about the fourth thing, which actually is mistakes. So again, you're probably really good at finding mistakes if you are a perfectionist. So use that to your advantage. Look at your mistakes that you have made and start celebrating those mistakes and realizing that that is where you grow and become better. So I've got a group of women that I meet with every week, and we've recently talked about this. The mistakes are where the good stuff live, y'all. It's not something that needs to be cringeworthy. Well, there are some mistakes out there that are cringeworthy, and I guarantee you those were where you grew the most. So celebrate your mistakes. Celebrate the challenges, and be thankful for those challenges because you're recognizing them and realizing like, hey, that was a really hard day today. And so I learned so much from that. If you're paying attention to it, you're learning. So you are never going to get from here to here, your end result, if you don't make progress. Just try a little bit, enjoy the process, find the good, and then make the mistakes and be okay with the mistakes. Because as you're moving along, you're making a little progress, you're going to make a mistake. And guess what? When you make a mistake, a lot of times, boop, that actually bumps you up a little bit faster to your goals, because you know what? Hey, I'm never doing that again, or I'm going to do it this way instead and get better at it. So celebrate the mistakes and just know that there's a lot of good that actually lives inside the mistakes. And perfectionism is actually the enemy of good. So know that good is good enough and be okay with good. Because if I were not okay with good, this video never would have been made. I don't have a fancy studio. I don't have great lighting. I'm not even going to point out a lot of the other things that I don't have that are not perfect, because sometimes when we notice things and then we point them out to other people, they probably don't even notice those things. It's only you that notices them. So I am noticing the things in my life that are not perfect and the mistakes that I make, and I'm celebrating those things and knowing that when I am making progress and doing something that I didn't do yesterday, it just means I'm further along. So don't let perfectionism kill good. Know that good is good enough, and you should celebrate the good in your life.